G'day and welcome to part 13 of the Sigma makeover, and in this one we do quite a bit. We look at carpets, we look at power steering, we look at different engine options, we look at the XC, we do some work on that, so quite a bit to cover. It's 10 to 5 I should say. It's 10 to 5 now. I have to go and have a shower and clean up. I'm going to a year 11 deb ball tonight. I've been at this college for 17 years. I've been to about 25 formals across different year levels, but not a deb ball. And if I walk in like this, I'm sweaty, I'm unshaven, I stink, I've got dirty hands, they're going to call the cops. They'll think I'm a wino. So in the last one I made a Bradman joke. It had more runs than Bradman, was what I said. It was about the paint that I did in the engine bay. Don Bradman was a legendary Australian cricket player, played from 1928 to 1948, I think. I had to look it up on Wikipedia. His average was 99.94, I think, runs. He would have got a century as an average, but he went out for a duck, I believe. Using terminology like that is quite common around here. It's the same sort of thing as getting a car that's been bashed around, got dents all over the place, and saying it's had more hits than Elvis. So anyway, look, this is it. I hope you enjoy it. Leave comments as you please, but the first thing I want to do is a straw poll. Oh, Steve Carboni, I'm really sorry I haven't called you. Thanks very much for the offer on the manual. I forgot to ring, but I will, I promise. Now, let me talk about this. Here are two paints, right? This is the original stuff that the Satellites had with the light blue. That was the bottom colour. I bought 4 litres of this for a Wolseley I was going to paint. It was really dark. It's almost black. So, Strawpoll. I've got a Strawpoll up, and I wanted you to decide what you reckon I should do. Should we do that? That's a beautiful colour, but it is a lot paler than the colour that's on the car now. Let me have a look. This on the other hand is dark. I'm kind of thinking dark. I think it'll contrast more. I think we need more contrast. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what you think. That one or that one? I don't know if you can see it in this light. Can you see? Don't know. Anyway, I'd be interested to see what you would think. I did one on the XC for the instrumentation, and 65% of people said original Speedo. And the other 35, I think, said the Police Interceptor one. It might have even been tighter than that. It might have been 60-40. I can't remember. But it was reasonably close. So I do value your opinion, people watching this stuff. And I would like to know. It will look a little bit more like a turbo with this. Turbos had black, and they were available in that colour. Whereas the Satellite, that is beautiful, but I just think it's a little bit too close to the colours there. Right, this might be a better way of looking at it. They're the colours. Maybe it's not a better way. See how close... Actually, you can't see a damn thing, can you? This is really bad. Hang on a sec. This is probably better. That's the original colour. See that little strip there from underneath the side protection moulding? That's what that colour was from, or it's what it's supposed to emulate. The lighting's shocking, but you can see it is darker than that. I was going to go for this dark blue. I want to know what you reckon. The dark blue is actually a fair bit closer, although it's not metallic. It's a fair bit closer to that. But can I stick them sideways? Can you see? You're not going to get an indication, are you? That's so crap. Son, what about here? What about here? Can we have a look there? That is a nice colour, that medium blue. I just don't think it offers enough of a contrast. Anyway, get back to me. See what you reckon. We've cleaned the interior out again. Given it a vacuum, a bit of a sweep, make it look nice. Because we are about to fit Carpe. And I've also got underlay. The underlay is from Knox Auto Carpets. The carpet they didn't have. This is from TST Carpet Manufacturers in, where's it from? Hoppers Crossing. And there's two colours that interested me. I mentioned this in a live feed. There was a pale green for the XC, which turned out to be unsuitable because it's more of a cerulean for the Commodores, the Berliners and Calais and stuff from the 80s. This one though is Kingfisher, and it's a pale blue. So if you have an XC with a dusk interior, this is the guy to go for, I would think. And that's what we've got for this car, and it matches seats and trim absolutely beautifully. So I've got cut pile to give our little Siggy a luxury feel. and given that we're going to have power steering and that sort of thing. So I think we'll go ahead and do that. There are a few things we need to look at. I took these bungs out of the bottom because when the car had no interior and no glass and whatnot, I didn't care if the rain came down on it, and of course I covered up the wiring on the dash and we got rain. I just drained it out through there, so I popped these back in. Handbrake's really easy, 2 8mm bolts, a wire for the lamp and a clevis pin. That's all there was to it. I'm taking that out. The seat bolts, we need to be mindful of where they are. There's a stud at the front. There's also a thread going in longitudinally. There's 2 console mounts here, which is self-tapper-tight. One at the back there, 2 at the back I should say, for the back of that little handbrake bin. And there's a mount there. And that mount has a brace on it, or a bracket on it. It's embossed, so I shouldn't have any trouble feeling it. Now, so far as the underlay is concerned, we're not going to underlay up on here. We can run a bit over the hump in the centre, but I might not have enough of this. I ordered it, I've got 3 bits of it for the XC. So this is XC one, so I'll get another one. But this will just stick in the wells, the front and rear. You don't have to go crazy about it, because there's some over the tunnel anyway. And I've got another piece to go underneath the back seat, because the one that was under the back seat was pretty well sort of rotten. So I think we'll cut this stuff up to make a start. Oh, actually, before we do, I might just get an 8-125 tap and just run it into these threads just to make sure they're good, because one of them was dirty where the the pile of the carpet had been dragged in with the bolts. So I think we'll have a look at that first. I don't know if you can see this, the camera angle's rubbish. I'm just taking this out. This isn't the right time to do this because I haven't finished. I'm probably going to have to mess around with the column and put the heater in and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to put the heater box in, but the steering column might be some mucking around. So it doesn't matter. I can get around it, just lift it again if I need to, but I just want to get it out of the garage because anyone that's seen these things knows that space is a real problem here. Right, so I'm just doing a bit of a fit up. This is, as I said, I don't think it's such a great idea doing it before I've finished wiring and doing that sort of stuff, but I can at least get it round about where I want it, make a line, and I'll just go and cut that out and we're good. Rightio, so we got the underlay done, run out, so just glued in a bit here. It's a bit dodgy. I might cut that back actually, just give me a sec. Okay, I just didn't want to open up another roll. I bought 3 for the XC, I've used 1 for this. So I'll just buy another one for the Falcon. The heel mat sucks. It's not the original Mitsubishi one, but it doesn't matter that much. We'll make it work. Yeah, what have we got? That would be that way. So I'll take this front one out again. And start with the back. It's not nice like an original one, but hang on, where's the? I reckon it goes that way. And then it sinks down into position. And then we have to start cutting them up. It does look a lot like XC dust though. A little, well, it does a bit. So we'll just push him into position. Some of it will go over and underneath the back seat. But I want to, yeah, that fits well. Then the front one where it's overlocked will overlap there. But we just want it tight over that tunnel. There's nothing worse than this sort of thing. So it means now we've got to get a screwdriver and start stabbing it to figure out where it actually goes. We need to figure out exactly where the seatbelt goes, which is there. And there's a seat mount just above that. Over there, which is in there. So we know where that goes. So the first thing I want to do is stick those seat belts in. This heel mat sucks. I hate it, but I can put a mat over it. Wiring all sorts of stuff here, and it's moulded so it will find the shape of the floor. Just got overlay. I've just got to move that underlay over there. That's got to be pinned up. It goes over that way a bit more, I think. Yes, it does. Kind of like that. Right, now I'm going to have to fiddle fart around with it because that corner's not quite right. And I've got to also find. I do. Hang on. Oh no, that was pretty easy. Look, this carpet is a cheapie. It's not bad though. Certainly for the money, it's not bad at all. So I've got no complaints really. The heel mat sucks. I hate that, but it's either that or a generic black carpet, and getting Dave to stitch it on, the original heel mat on. Where's the wire? Here's the wire. But this is going in really well. I have zero complaints. $139. Should I trim that a bit more? Yes, I think I will. Just to keep it away from the mechanism. Yeah, maybe a bit there. And this is all covered by a sort of a console extension. So you know, it's fine. I was going to say all good, but my daughter gets really cross when I keep saying all good, and I said it 30 times in the other video, the last one. And I watched it back and I thought, too many all goods. It's like watching Trailer Park Boys and J-Rock keeps saying Norm Sand. The Department of Norm Sands. Alright, that's cool. I'm just messing around with this trying to fit it. These are a little bit dirty. They can be cleaned with Armor All or a tiny, tiny bit of transmission fluid. The screws are rusty, so I've just sort of blown over them with some black Relican paint. And that will hold that in. There you go, back. There you go, you little bugger. So we just trap that under, and we'll give it a back. And it should look pretty good. Just lining all these up with the trims. And this, as I said, I mean, it doesn't matter having to fit it and then pulling it apart again, because a lot of what you're doing is trimming bits off. You know, there's bits like this. If you have to take it out again, it's easy because you don't have to trim it then, you can just stick it back in. So, what have we got here? We've got a bit of underlay from the XC. It was left on top of the bonnet of the Plymouth. And that can sit under the seat. It's a join now. I've just glued that sort of section there just to keep it in one piece while it's sort of spilling around in the back. But you can see it looks alright. Can you see under there? The bolts I've used are Toyota Starlet. Those ones, because the other ones are a bit mangy and one of them was a bit sus on the thread. So I'll stick that back seat back in. Oh, my shadow. Can I get it? Maybe I can get in like this. I'm really pleased with it. That mat is crap. I'm just going to chuck a rubber mat over that. But aside from that, it's really good. The camera makes it a lot more green. I'll just let the light equalise. I'm silhouetting the sun with my head. You can see where I cut it there. Cut in the wrong spot, but that doesn't matter because the console covers all of that. And there's a big round hole got to go here as well. But look, aside from that, I'm fairly happy. That'll do for now. It'll keep it clean. What else have we done? Well, I thought I'd revisit the XC and have a look at that door handle. That's crap. Doesn't even open the door, it's sitting out. Buffed out the door, haven't done the front one yet. You can see the difference in the sheen level. Can you see that? And also chucked on that top stainless moulding. So XC is getting close. I just got to do this door, and I've got to do the boot lid, but I've been slack. Sigma. Working late again. It's 8 o'clock at night. Been digging around here, and this is actually really good news. This is where I've taken the drip roller mould off. They're lovely down there. There's no complaints whatsoever. Was I worried about seeing rust underneath the filler? This was cracked, this filler here. The paint was off it and the filler was cracked. I dug it out with a little screwdriver while I was talking to my wife. That's the worst of it. A bit of surface rust, which is dead easy to remove. In fact, when I use the paper to get rid of all that, it'll probably rub all that off anyway. If it doesn't, if there's any pitting there at all, of course, as usual, we use the phosphoric acid, but otherwise that's really, really good news. So I can just fill over that, treat it first, and etch it, fill it, paint it, try and blend it in as best I can with the roof, which is going to look disastrous, but what do you do? Been taking off the stripes and all the sticky residue. It's been a bit of a nightmare to get off, and I'm just doing a little bit of body work around here. Don't know what I'm going to do with that. Really, the top end of the car is going to need to be painted again. I've just been rubbing through this as well, filling there. What else? Not much, really. Took this off, this paint. There's a tiny bit of surface rust there that was hard to get off, so just put a bit of phosphoric on it. This needs to all be taken back and done properly. I'm just going to fill it for now, dust over it, just to get it looking semi-decent. This worried me though, because it was made up of broken bits of that sort of stuff there, and you can see it's all cracked and there's rusty, what is it, like residue around the outside. So I needed to take that off, and of course I'll fill it and she'll be right. And the same there on that part there that all mucked up. I've cleaned off the packaging paint that came with the rust extensions, the rust repair sections. Took all that sort of packaging paint off, whatever it was, I don't know what it was, and I put an etch on it and a satin black on the inside, the same as the one over yonder on the bin. You can see it there. So still struggling with this though. We've got a car that's going to look quite nice. We've got this muck here. That goes in there, by the way. I think before I went like that, didn't I? You know what? I know I rattle on about plating, but I'm actually tempted to get them done, just because they're so obvious. Although I don't know if they're covered up by the surrounds. Let's have a look. Hang on a sec. Okay, let me have a look. Where does this even go? I think that goes like that. No, it doesn't. They sit on tabs. Oh, I've got the guard off. I'm going to have a look. They're extension tabs, so they're going to be well visible. Here's the dilemma, right? And you might want to help me on this. The thing is this, if I get them done, you might as well get the brake backing plates, and there's a little cover that goes around where the steering box, the pitman arm goes through. If I start getting that done, see, I didn't want to do underneath the car. Even to the point where, I mean, I might have to do something under there, but actually I think I will have to do something under there. But the moment you do all that up, you've got the rear ones to think about. I will have to redo the back of this part here, because that's where I sort of welded right the way along. So that deadener is going to fall off, and I'll put new seam sealer there and that sort of thing. So it's just a question of how far do you go. Do you know what I mean? So I was going to powder coat the caster rod housings. Thinking about the cross member. I can just paint that though. But I've just got to watch what I spend. Power steering. It is 40 degrees Celsius here in the garage, and I'm sweating like a pig, so I'm not going to get in front of the camera. Here we have a power steering kit for our Sigma, and never seen one before. They're reasonably common, I think, on Scorpions, the Japanese imported cars, the two-door ones, but on the four-door Sigma, for example, on the GH like we're doing, they weren't even available. This is GK GSR, so it's a sporty 2.6 one that this kit all came from, and it is in impeccable condition, even though I haven't cleaned up the steering box yet. You can still sort of gunk on it from under the wheel arch, but this thing wasn't leaking. It seemed to be fine. The old steering box, when we turned it, was raspy and ratchety. This is smooth as a baby's backside. I put a couple of bungs in there just to stop any debris getting in, the same on the pump. The high and low pressure lines look really great. That's the low pressure one with the cooler over there. This is the high pressure one. It's got a little dimple in the thing there from a clamp, but that's not a big deal at all. Bracket, not sure where that goes. These three hold the pumps to the block. Three do, I don't know what the other one does. That's a steering box one, that's a little coupling for the steering shaft. Pulley we had to change. I thought these bolted on like a Ford, but they don't. It's a different pulley altogether. And he gave me that too. We've got to clean that up a bit, but that's cool. We're on a win. Even the old belt, which is knackered, but it does have a part number on it, so I can go with another one. This is so unusual to me, so foreign to me, because I've just never seen one. It's a compact bit of kit. It is going to be hard to fill without making a mess, because that's right down the bottom. But having said that, I don't give a toss about air conditioning in an old car, because I don't mind the heat. It doesn't bother me at all. And I normally drive my Commodore or Little Starly around in this weather, and they have both got nice icy cold air conditioning. The old cars that I've got, I just don't want another thing to go wrong, do you know what I mean? So I don't bother with it. This is going to be fine. Now, there's a couple of things with that to do with the pump and the steering column, so let's go there now. So I have requested the column with the car as well. There's a couple of differences here in that the adjuster and everything looks the same. The length, I haven't got that indicator switch off. Maybe I should take that off first. Yeah, I'll take it off later. They're basically identical from what I can see. Although some of the bracketry does look different, but the power steering one is shorter. So what I might do, it looks like the same diameter shaft inside. I might just try to put this inside that, but looking at that, the tube is actually shorter as well. So I think what we need to do is we need to strip this off, all this kit here, and just to see precisely what we've got. We may have to weld things like that on. I'll see. I'll just see. I've got to take the lock cylinder off. That's probably got a security screw on it, not really sure. It's got this big grommet here, or I don't know what that is. Rubber vibration baffle or something, I don't know what it is. But we need to sort of dig around here and find out, because this all looks different. So I need to have a good look at this, find out what's the best thing to do, just make my mind up and think about it a bit. But the main thing is we've got the other steering column, and that is a necessity. Right, let's have a look at this. Power steering pump here. It will bolt on. Can I move that down a bit? Right, so we've got one bolt here which goes through the front. And this isn't working so well because I'm cramped. There are two next to it which go into the block. Now this block hasn't got them, it's got one. Hasn't got the other, there's two further back. Now what we can do with that, that's pretty easy. We can weld a strip of steel on here and just put two gussets on, one at the top, one at the bottom, and then re-drill for exactly where it fits on the 2-litre engine. That won't interfere where that top hole is. If we just weld straight onto there, that's going to be out. So I'd be inclined to butt weld it there, plus run a couple of gussets, and I think it'll be fine. Now, that brings me to the next thing. You're probably wondering why I'm going so fast on this car and that engine is relegated to the corner behind my mini bike. Well, when I went to this bloke's house, car's largely still in one piece, and it's got the 2.6 engine 5-speed. Now, 2.6s and 2 litres are different. There's those casting differences for things like this, but not just that. There are wide blocks and narrow blocks and all sort of other business. Now, if it was a Ford or even a Holden, I would know exactly the difference between all of them, but I don't. I don't really know. I know you can't bolt a 2-litre manual box up to an early 2.6 block. I think they were different. Anyway, whatever the case, we've agreed on a price. The engine was Mickey Mouse clean inside and ran like a train apparently. I haven't seen it run. He seems really trustworthy, this guy, so I thought I'd drop some money on that with the 5-speed gearbox and the tail shaft. And what that'll let me do is, down the track, I can strip this 2-litre and do that up for a turbocharger. But I'm sort of thinking at this stage, there are a few things I need to do. I need to run a seal kit through the gearbox, or a bearing kit through the gearbox. I'm hoping this one's better, so I don't need to do that. If I do, I do. I'm going to take a punt on that. But I'm literally just going to drop this thing in. I'll give it a paint job and make it look pretty, drop it in the car. So we'll have a 2.6 5-speed with power steering. So I've never seen one of them in a GH. And 2.6 5-speeds are very, very rare. They're common in things like Werrits, because that's all they had. But most of the 2.6 I've seen have been autos. But anyway, look, I thought that was food for thought. It's not terribly expensive to do it that way. And it gives us that second engine we can take our time with, do up with special pistons and new bearings and chains and all that sort of stuff. and really put it to good use. But for the moment, I just want to get the car finished, get the front end back in. But I think I'm going down the right track. Spending more money, which I shouldn't do because this was supposed to be cheap. But at the end of the day, I think we end up with a much better car. Right, XC, we have buffed out the doors, put the top bits on. The only problem is, I'll show you something. There's two problems. One of the black or white plastic clips that goes in here, I've lost it. I had one left, and it was for the link that goes on the, you can see in there, the link that goes on the door lock. So it's all sort of rattling around in there. I need to put that on so that we can at least use that lock. But that's all looking good. The back one, I've got the shut line I've got to adjust. It's sort of, okay there, but then it sort of kicks under there. So the door has to be, let me think, the door's got to be brought that way, which I can do on the front hinge, so we're all good. On the subject, that back door, up there, has been horrendous. I had a lot of trouble putting it in, the door handle, and it didn't work. And I'll show you why. Right, so it's this door handle here. Now when I bolted it in the car, that was sitting proud, like that, and it wouldn't open. There wasn't enough throw on it left to actually open the door. It was sitting like that because the skin comes down here. Now I changed the skin on this car, but it's straight. It matches the rear quarter and it also matches the front door, so it's all good like that. This is a problem with these things. It's a piece of junk. So I haven't got the packaging or the receipt. I got the receipt, but I won't have the packaging, and I can't remember. I didn't get them at Rare Spares, although I think they're a Rare Spares part, I'm not sure. It's a piece of rubbish. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill these out, and then we're going to just reposition that flat, on more of an angle like that, so this can keep flush and give us the reach we need, because it's not quite reaching that kind of pad that's on the door lock mechanism. So it means we've got to rivet these back, or tap a thread in there and use Loctite or something just to screw it in. May have to just put a little notch in here to clear the screw heads if we use them, because they're awfully close. But I'm not happy with that. I can't remember the other one. I haven't gone into the other side to have a look to see how far up these are. They should be the same. I don't know what the story is with that. The other side was fine, and I have the original one, I think. Although I think the original one I've got from the other side. I need to go and see somebody about getting some parts for this car. I need the bucket that goes over the back of this. There's a steel bucket that goes on when you screw them up, or when you bolt them up. And I need the two conduit covers for the underneath the, what do you call it? Underneath the scuff plates, there's two steel covers that cover up the wiring looms. I need the two front ones. I've got both back ones, but the Fairlane marquee, because this car didn't have any doors, or had doors, it didn't have any handles, but the Fairlane marquee that we took the door handles from only had 3 doors, so I'm missing that sort of bucket that goes over the back, so I need that. I need the scuff plate covers, or the wiring loom covers for under the scuff plates, and I need another clip for the door, and then we're pretty much out of the woods with that. I need to drill the holes in the front of the doors to pass the wiring looms through, because the holes aren't there. And I think I mentioned in the last one that the dimples are there for the whole saw to go through, so I need to cut those. And then once Jason's finished the door trims, this car I can carpet, put the door trims on. The interior's pretty much done except the console. Oh, and the cargo mat, not the cargo mat, what do you call it, little insulated panel from behind the back seat. But she's moving along well, really, really well. It's always reinvigorating to see the car in that condition. It's good. So I'll leave you with that thought. Don't forget about the Strawpoll. I want your input with that. And please drive safely, enjoy classic. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.